Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. We had some big happenings today at Davos with an agreement on, I guess you could deem partial ownership of Greenland within small pockets, possibly a compact of free association with Greenland. I don't know how it's going to work exactly with Denmark. I don't know the exact deal, the exact price, but it seems like U.S. is going to be expanding their reach with pretty significant control of the Arctic. That's what I'm getting out of this. Greenland, not U.S. territory. I know. No, you're right. I mean, I've seen people saying, well, maybe eventually it'll be U.S. territory. You give it long enough, but I could analyze on kind of the issues that Trump has had in acquiring it, because it's all diplomatic. It has to be done diplomatic nowadays. But no, you are right. I mean, obviously he wanted to acquire it for sure. And I don't know what this agreement is going to be, but it's not an acquisition of Greenland. It's See, it says, will U.S. acquire part of Greenland? I mean, I don't know. What are they going to split Greenland in half? What are they going to annex certain territory? Why can't they annex everything? Except, yeah, I mean, I would say annex all of the areas that aren't big population, because they have two or three bigger cities. Nook, and then like two or three other ones along the coast. If you leave those and annex the rest of it, I mean, then it creates a weird map. Ideally, you would just like to have it all, and then there would be a private relationship with Denmark to where they would still be funding them, but the U.S. would be paying for their healthcare and stuff like that. They would be paying for the Danish Euro healthcare, I guess. We should force them to kick China off the island. That's what this deal is. Now, to be fair to Trump, you can say, well, it's a letdown because it's not, an acquisition that shows up on the map. And that's kind of what it is. That's why people are mad. I get it. But obviously, this pact that would be signed would give the U.S. significant military rights, and there wouldn't be any chance of Greenland negotiating with China or Russia. That would be part of it. Otherwise, what's the point of even doing it? Because really, that's the only thing you don't have within Greenland right now. It's the fact that technically they can negotiate mineral deals and infrastructure deals with any country that they want. So the U.S., if they get into this agreement, I don't know if it's some type of compact of free association, I believe, then they're going to have full control militarily. The U.S. will have full control of Greenland militarily. Technically, they don't own it because the citizens don't want it, but they would have control of whether or not Greenland, they're not going to be able to flirt with any Eastern country. So then that's how Trump can kind of swing it as a win, I guess. Is the U.S. going after Canada next? I don't think Canada's going to. If they can't even get Greenland without, I don't think Canada's going to happen now. Canada would be a lot harder than Greenland. I mean, Canada would be an outright annexation. I don't think we'd be able to buy Canada unless it was like a massive threat that forced them to their knees. I mean, Greenland hypothetically would be way easier than Canada. It was a terrible deal. I don't even know how it was a terrible. You can't even say it's a terrible deal. We don't even know what the deal is. We don't know what the deal is. There's no numbers. Thoughts on the Duke QB being sued? I think those a contract is a contract. You should honor it. I think those kids don't know what they're doing. They sign these contracts and then they think they don't have to honor them. But NIL is a mess. We need to annex Canada because they are CCP agents. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they said they wanted to do a deal with China, but I don't. It's gonna be hard to justify that. Do you like Avatar: The Last Airbender? I never watched it. Who would receive the money if the U.S. bought Canada? Well, you might pay this Canadian citizens. I don't even think it would work like that. I think they might buy Alberta and then it might collapse the country. to where they would be forced to join the United States, which would be catastrophic. It would not be good for us. We don't want these liberal Canadian citizens joining the US. Alberta is one thing, but Alberta, I think, would probably collapse their country if Alberta went independent or joined the United States. It might take a little while, though. It may not happen right away. Maybe they'd be able to. I mean, the problem with Canada is they have a completely stagnant GDP, and Alberta is their by far their best province for resources. Maybe I watched Avatar like a few episodes when I was like 10 years old, but I don't remember that. Did you see Clinton might be getting charged? I don't think any of that. Dude, anytime they talk about Clinton or Obama or Hillary or Bill, you can't really believe any of it, bro. To me, it's a waste of time. I mean, if it happens, that would be crazy, but like, we're going to speculate Bill Clinton or Hillary getting charged with something. Yeah, it seems it's just a protected class. No, I do agree with that. I think Trump should have stood up to Europe, and I would really look into leaving NATO on it, just on a bigger level. Just because these European countries, they don't really appreciate the United States in any meaningful way. It's just all disrespect. If we were forced to buy Canada due to China working with them, should we deport the Canadian citizens first? The liberals would. That's not even possible. How are you going to deport all those? That's millions of people. You're going to deport them where? It's not even feasible. I mean, listen, if that happened, you would just try and keep them a territory, and maybe even give them their own puppet government or something. At that point, if it got that catastrophic to where we had to annex them because they were so in bed with China, but they're not going to get to that point. You know, they have flirtation. They're going to flirt with them, but it's not going to be anything crazy because they know that the U.S. is going to get angry. I mean, and for them at a certain point, they have to realize it's just not worth it. Like, I don't know, these countries, they sign these trade deals with China. They think it's this huge threat to the United States. The United States signs major trade deals with China and India and all these countries. They want to do business with the United States. I don't get why these countries think it's this big flex when they sign trade deals with anyone that's not the United States and then try and say, well, see, now you're becoming isolationist because we signed a trade deal with another country. What do we get? We don't care. But they constantly just, because that's their only threat they have against the U.S. It's that the U.S. is isolationist. That's it. Not that the U.S. is going to be invaded. Not that the U.S. is going to, not even that the U.S. dollar is going to lose its status as the world reserve currency. Because it's intertwined in so many institutions, it's not possible, at least not possible for decades. Chat is being unrealistic. There was no way Europe would allow Greenland to be annexed after their tough talks. The fact that the U.S. would be acquiring some land is, well, I think Trump should have just said, no, Trump should have just put his foot down and said, we're going to be taking it. And because the thing is I'm already fine about leaving NATO. I would have just said we're taking it, or if you don't allow us to complete this sale in a diplomatic fashion, we're just going to leave NATO. Because these countries already don't like the United States as it is. Now, I don't know the feasibility of that, and maybe it would be bad for the U.S. Maybe it wouldn't be smart. But I just look at these European countries, and there's just there's animosity, there's arrogance, there's constant mutters under their breath. They think they're better than us. Like, why are we protecting these people? It's just like, I'm just done with it. I'm done with the Euro arrogance. And listen, they keep saying they can protect themselves. Then go protect yourself. That would honestly happen if China started shipping nuclear bombs to Canada to prevent the U.S. from annexing them. What would honestly happen if? Yeah, that would be a World War III scenario. That would be like the Cuban Missile Crisis on steroids. That's not. China would have a death note for doing that. That would be a death note to the world if they started shipping them nuclear bombs, bro. To Canada, a landlocked country. Yeah, that would never happen. But that would turn into a really bad situation. I feel like U.S. wouldn't leave NATO. Honestly, Trump uses NATO as bargaining chip, then defense. I feel like even if it doesn't even matter, bro. This is the U.S. government for you. Even if they left NATO, liberals would just rejoin NATO in 2 years anyways. That's what these European countries are thinking. These European countries don't give a shit because they think, well, a liberal's going to be in office in 3 years, sucking us off. Like Newsom literally travels to Switzerland to suck off the EU. Like, what are you like? Come on, man. You have a U.S. governor traveling to Switzerland to a World Economic Forum to counter signal the U.S. president, and he's like sitting in the corner, like trying to have Trump say his name during his speech. I mean, this is the most embarrassing thing. And there's all these retarded liberals that are like, no, 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 Newsom. So I guess Newsom really is their person. I mean, it could change, you know, with how politics works, but Newsom goes to this World Economic Forum. This is a governor, but he goes there specifically to try and counter signal the president. Dude, even the world leaders, the liberal world leaders in Europe are probably like, go the fuck home. What are you doing? You have no business here. Who are you talking with exactly? You know, but he's trying to be the next big leader, and he wants people to see that. I mean, look, we'll see what the deal is. I mean, the deal is going to include some type of monetary thing. I mean, it depends what the cost is. I mean, I don't know, like, acquire land. It's hard to really say. It's hard. They said they're going to acquire, from what I saw, they said they're going to acquire small pockets of land, but I don't really. I mean, technically, I feel like they could acquire a lot of the land because a lot of it's not even habitable. Just outside of the major cities, they could acquire a lot of it, I guess. But you know, it's about sphere of influence and dominance and control. But I really think it is more about really acquiring the territory. Really, if Trump wanted to acquire Greenland, the way to do it would be you would have to turn the citizens, and the way you would do that is through probably at least a multi-month, probably a year-long reconnaissance mission where you turn the officials of Greenland probably just through straight bribery. And then you start educating the citizens of Greenland on why joining the U.S. in terms of money that they would be getting is a better situation than, you know, being with Denmark. But it would have to probably be through the citizens. That would be the easiest way to acquire it. Even though there is only 60,000 people. I mean, 100 years ago they would just take it, but you know how it is. Crazy how liberals will choose a guy that single-handedly destroyed the biggest economic state. Well, yeah, I mean, all the major cities in California. And really, it is leadership incompetence, and it's liberal policies that allow that type of ridiculous homeless encampments. It's all liberal policies. You have to be tough on that stuff and snuff it out, and those people have to go somewhere. Because the second that gets out of control, there's no fixing it. You can't put that... It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. Once the homeless gets to a certain point, there's no real fixing it outside of like a serious authoritarian action. And these liberals are not going to do that. So they have all these homeless encampments. I mean, this is extremely expensive real estate. They have just homeless everywhere, trash everywhere. It's just government mismanagement. That's all it is. Get a foothold on the island first, then maybe at the end of the term they can move enough citizens to actually vote. Yeah, I don't know about that one. That seems like it's going to be a challenge. I mean, it is a small amount of people, I'll say that. It's a small amount of people. You wonder, you know, depending on the relationship we have with Greenland, will U.S. citizens be able to travel to Greenland? Depending on what this is. If Trump left NATO due to the EU not giving him Greenland, then the next day Russia and China nukes Europe, purposefully dodging U.S. military bases that are being deserted due to leaving what would have happened. Well, that's, first of all, that's not even, the first part's not even right. We wouldn't be given Greenland. It would be an acquisition. We would give them money. And it wouldn't even be negotiated through the EU, really. And then the second part, they're not gonna nuke Europe. Nuking Europe would just destroy the world. There's not going to be nukes when nukes get used. It's you're talking about a decade long, multi-decade long recovery, I would imagine, because of the amount of nukes that we have just in circulation in general. When they nuked Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that was at the way end of that war in 1945. That was to end the war. They didn't nuke to begin a war. If you nuke to begin a war, it's going to be a big problem. Thoughts on the nuke the U.S. lost in Greenland in the 1960s? Well, the U.S. had a secret military base underground in Greenland in the 1950s and 1960s. They've had some covert operations on Greenland. Does the U.S. have anti-nuke weapons, or are we fucked? Well, that's what this. It depends how fast the missiles, the nuke is. If it's hypersonic, they say you can't stop it. But they've got this missile defense now, this Golden Dome. They're investing around $15 billion a year to build. Trump is going to definitely use this acquisition of whatever they're buying. It's probably just rights. I don't even know if they're going to be able to buy land, but it's rights and maybe small pockets of land to set up this missile defense. Based on the curvature of the Earth, the way the missiles get launched from Russia, a lot of them, I think, traverse right over Greenland. So they're going to set up some type of extensive missile defense system on Greenland. Really, in a way, it is genius, because the only way the United States can really be attacked is through some type of missile. Now, I don't know about the hypersonic missiles. They say those cannot be intercepted. They travel too fast. The speed is too fast. But ballistic missiles, you intercept them, just like with what Israel has. Now, the problem with like a Golden Dome is the cost is so insane, because the U.S. has it's a large country. It's not like Israel where it's more easily defendable. But even Israel's Iron Dome, it doesn't stop all the missiles. A lot of them get through. I mean, they're able to intercept some of them. If Trump would have taken Greenland no matter what, do you think the midterms would have been lost? Well, I don't know how that would work. It would depend what the EU does, because I don't think the EU would actually fight for Greenland, but it would create a very hostile situation, probably, if he did just force action on Greenland and take it. They were never fighting. They were never going to fight. They bluffed, and unfortunately for them, it worked out in a way. They can view it as a win if Trump doesn't outright acquire the land. But I mean, you get your foot in the door, and maybe within years, but you would have liked to have seen it happen. What if Israel buys Greenland before the U.S.? They got to invest all their money into the military. Israel does. I don't think that's a part of Greater Israel. I don't think Greenland. I'd have to look at the Greater Israel map, but I think it's more of Egypt what they want on Greater Israel. Imagine Greater Israel included Greenland. We need all of Greenland. Yeah, I wanted all of Greenland because these European people are so annoying, and I don't think they would have done anything about it. They wouldn't have done anything about it. These European people are so ungrateful, and then we have to spend $150 billion on a country that's not even in NATO because Europe is worried about Russian encroachment. It's annoying. And then they constantly bitch about that. They say, well, technically, the percentage of your GDP, you're actually not giving very much. Well, that's the idea of the U.S. being involved in this entire thing. We have such a massive GDP. We could give like 0.01%, and it's billions and billions of dollars. It's the power of the U.S. economy. Did you see Putin talk about the U.S. wanting Greenland? Yeah, Putin really, he knows history and he understands these type of things happen, and but he wants it normalized so he can, he's doing a land grab in Ukraine. He wants land grabbing and annexation more normalized. So I think he supports the idea of the U.S. actually taking Greenland as a way to normalize land grabbing or annexations. But he has this kind of off and on relationship with Trump. But Yeah, there's a cordial relationship there. With the liberals, it's a lot more hostile with the because the liberals are a lot more tied to Europe right now in this current world structure than the conservatives in the United States. The liberals in America are a lot more tied at the hip to Europe, and Europe obviously hates Russia. The conservatives in the United States are a lot less tied to Europe. You know, Europe's gone very liberal. Is watching sports loser behavior? You're a grown ass man cheering on other grown ass men who are multimillionaires chasing balls around. When it comes to something like that, it depends how much you're into it. I think I used to love sports when I was younger. I don't watch as much. I still like college football. That would be the one. College football and then college basketball when it's March Madness only. Um, yeah, I mean, I understand that argument. I think it's one of those things to where it's like, well, what do you focus on? What do you focus your energy on? But depends the level of obsession with it. Depends how you're spending your time. Um, if you're somehow making money off of it, I think that's a decent use. But it does tend to be a time waster. But the thing is you just replace sports with YouTube videos or watching other streamers or stuff. I mean, all of it's kind of time wasting. Whether it's sports or whether it's because I used to watch Call of Duty pro players when I was younger. That's another one. It's the same thing as like watching a MLB or something. You should get into sports gambling. Now, I'm never really big into. I do meme coins. That's kind of my gambling. I do crypto, so I kind of get it through that. Europeans hide behind NATO, then patronize Americans for not having free healthcare and free college. Yeah, I mean, those countries, those countries have a lot smaller populations. It's easier for them to have those type of programs. We give out the most entitlements out of any country, so I mean, they want to criticize the United States. It's really an inferiority complex with a lot of them. And look, I get a lot of the European countries have solid middle class. They've got better entitlement programs, but it's easier to have a good entitlement program when you've got such a small population. Well, you think sports is pointless? Yeah, I mean, I understand. I mean, to me, it's just entertainment. Sports is just entertainment. Just how Trump said the Ukraine was the apple to Trump's eye. Let Russia have Ukraine and U.S. have Greenland. EU is already invaded by Muslims. Well, you got to be careful there. Technically, if you look at Europe and their population and their demographics, they've got better demographics than the United States does. Now, Europe is interesting because they tend to get like worse immigrants that don't really assimilate because they get a lot of Muslims. We get like Latin American Catholics, and I think the immigration is bad anywhere, whether it's to Europe or to the United States. But technically, those countries they're more white than the United States. As many of those countries, I think pretty much all of them are, at least in Western Europe. Opinions on Brookfield Place, World Financial Center. I don't really have any opinions on it, bro. I mean, the Brookfield Place, I don't know. As a right leaning, you're as right leaning as others here, but you do believe the U.S. should have universal health care. Poor people have Medicare, and rich have money. Having no health care only affects the middle class. Yeah, I'm not sure how we could really pay for that at this point without taxing the hell out of people. The problem with taxing the hell out of rich people, it's trickle down economics. It's just gonna make the government stagnate. There's gonna be less of an incentive to make money. I mean, it depends how the threshold is how much can you tax them before it becomes an issue, because again, it will become an issue at a certain point. You can't just tax these rich people a ridiculous amount. There's going to be no incentive to make money. I mean, you could potentially tax them more, but I think there would have to be a major overhaul of the healthcare system in general, but also with the US in terms of the way it works. And I'm not going to get into it too much, but you understand, based on demographics in terms of like these entitlements and stuff. And there's a lot of problems with the amount of subsidization that happens. We are trillions in debt. Well, yeah, they'd have to restructure the entire healthcare system. They're gonna have to do something. They're gonna have to try and run a profit somehow, because they're not gonna stop spending. That's for sure. European healthcare really isn't that great. Huge waiting list, virtually no elective procedures. Well, there's always drawbacks. You go with universal, the coverage is going to get a lot worse. The quality of coverage, I should say, is going to get a lot worse. In the United States, the quality of coverage is extremely good. It just costs a lot. In Canada, it's the opposite. They have you're going to be covered, but it's going to be shitty coverage. You're going to have problems getting to doctors. The doctors are not as good. That's why a lot of the Canadians come to the United States for specialized care. He got a foothold on Greenland, probably the best outcome without collapse. Yeah, but you have to understand, it looks like he's cucking to the EU in a way. But I agree with you. I do think it's in a long term. You look at it long term. It's a good thing. I mean, let's see what the actual deal is. I still don't think there's been. Are we getting, areas of land here? What is the total control? It looks like it's going to be looks like it's going to be some type of compact of free association. So we're going to have full control militarily, and that's really what we want with the waterways, and so we're going to have basically. See, people say, a lot of the liberals now are saying, well, it's the exact same thing. No, 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 no. Because previously, Greenland could do deals with China and Russia. Apparently, that's going to be completely cut off through this deal. That's the point. So how are you saying it's the exact same thing? You don't know what you're talking about. I read articles last year about Greenland discussing a deal where there was going to be an infrastructure investment, just like China does, probably through Belt and Road. An infrastructure deal onto Greenland from China in exchange for sphere of influence control in the region. That's not going to happen now. World Trade Center. Yeah, I know about the World Trade Center. It's I don't know what you want to say about that, but I know the New York Times reported it. I saw. That's a win if Greenland can't do deals with China or Russia. Well, there'd be no other reason to do this whatever this is with Greenland, because the next step would be to eliminating any type of deals that they can do. We're taking control of the island militarily, so I think we're taking control of their full defense, and they become basically a vessel. They became like a vessel of the U.S., but they have their free elections. And I don't know the relationship with Denmark, but I think they would probably stay on the same. I guess the thing is they say, well, if it's going to be a freedom of association or whatever, they have to become independent from Denmark to be able to do that. How is he cucking to the EU? Trump initiated the bidding, and he gets anything that's already winning. If he gets anything, well, we wanted to acquire Greenland outright. We want to acquire. This is some type of negotiation here. The idea is there's really no negotiation based on the United States strength. We're going to acquire the country, and that's just the reality. There's not going to be a small pocket. There's not going to be land exchanges. There's not going to be a freedom of compact free of association. It's just an acquisition. Greenland wasn't a good investment anyways. The rare earth minerals was a red herring. It would take $1 trillion investment to do anything meaningful. Well, they've kind of shifted off of the rare earth minerals. They really haven't talked about them. They say it's for security. Trump has said it's for security. It's not. It's not for the minerals. But I understand what you're saying. The minerals are certainly less important because they have no developed infrastructure. And then these Greenlanders, these people are just, they're very delusional. They're like, we're rich. We have a rich country. Your country is your potential rich country. It's all buried hundreds of feet below the glacier. You're not going to get to that. What if we just get to the base to be what if we get the base to be enlarged and that's seen as US territory? Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know if they're going to give the US annex certain territory on Greenland. Is that kind of the compromise? We'll have to see. The US is in a judicial dictatorship, you believe? Typhoon, you like crypto? You got the glasses? Uh, Everything is 100 feet under ice, and there is no viable place for a port. Yeah, it's very hard topography. It's very hard. Climate. It's like a tundra. It's hard to do anything there. Golden Dome, kind of like Israel. Yeah, it's a missile defense system. Imagine if Trump bought Greenland, a federal judge would rule he'd have to return it to Denmark. Probably. Probably. You just ignore a lot of. At a certain point, I would just ignore all these federal judges. Who cares if it's illegal? Just ignore them. I mean, it's executive authority. I think executive authority just usurps it, anyways. These federal judges, they do it like it's more of just like a troll to Trump in a lot of ways. It's not even about checking power. Just ignore it. I mean, you got one term left. What does it fucking matter? And then they're gonna impeach him for stuff like that. Yeah, don't listen to me. Thoughts on the U.S. issuing more visas to OF girls, improving the genes? What the hot OF girl? Yeah, the OF stuff's got to be banned, man. It's just not good. Just not good for society. But there's no way we would have a realistic relationship with a realistic military agreement with Russia. Liberals wouldn't allow that, especially not with Russia's actions in Ukraine. I don't see how that's a feasible long-term relationship. I mean, Republicans would literally have to win like 7 straight elections for that to be a long-term military agreement with Russia, if that ever happened. Hi from Norway. He made your prime minister quite pissed. Yeah, well, Norway. It's interesting. Norway actually, Greenland itself, Greenland proper was originally culturally Norwegian. You guys used to partially own Greenland. So the Scandinavia, I haven't really heard much from Sweden, but Norway and Denmark are not happy. Trump should just take Greenland, Yukon, Nunavut. Your thoughts on midterms? The midterms are fucked. The midterms, it's just not going to be good. It's not going to be good. I don't, because, this is how it is. It's just Republicans don't get a high turnout. They fucked up the gerrymandering. These liberals gerrymandered better than Republicans this cycle. I mean, maybe with Florida, I think they're going to try and get it back, but they're going to try and get it back with Florida. I don't know, man. The midterms are just, Trump should just continue to focus on leading. I mean, the midterms are whatever. Just use executive authority. Try and use as much executive authority as possible. You can't really use Congress. You can't rely on Congress for anything. Was Obama as bad as Republicans say? I mean, obviously when the president is in and it's the opposition, they're going to say he's the worst thing ever. Probably not. Obama got a silver platter, though, of like a reset economy with a huge infusion. And I was talking to people. These people are just so delusional. They're like, well, Bush caused the financial crisis. No, that was a multi-decade. That was actually caused mainly in the 90s by banks when the U.S. was in a much better spot. But these people, I was just like, yeah, there's no shit Obama's going to have a good economy the first 2 years. There was a massive infusion after the 08 crisis. And a bunch of these liberals got angry about it. Did you see the recent videos on Indians abusing H-1Bs in Texas? They all abuse them. It's a joke. These immigration programs have got to be completely cut out. They have to be cut out. Let alone our demographic problems the last 50, 60 years. The immigration problems have to stop, or the immigration just in general has to stop. They're all abusing it, and it's just not. We're not doing it anymore. It's not manageable. And then the thing is with immigration, it's like you can't even deport illegals. They get angry about that. With all these ICE things, look at all these people. You gotta arrest all these people for obstruction. They want to blow a whistle and say this is where the ICE is. Well, you're arrested for obstruction. Just arrest these people. Then the jurisdiction lets them out because it's all liberal local jurisdiction. So there's really, these liberal cities are not repairable. They're actually with their current demographics, with even the white people that have so much white guilt, these cities are not repairable. You can't fix them. They're too liberalized. Think about it. How do you fix these cities if you send in the National Guard or something and mobilize it? They're not going to be there forever. All their jurisdictions are extremely liberal. They let these people that disobey ICE out the next day. They don't charge you with anything. You believe in the midterms economy will take care of itself soon enough. Also, you can't trust the polls for a general election. What makes you think polling for the midterms is accurate? It's more historical trends on midterms, and also Republicans struggle. I mean, even in 2022 maybe is a little bit different because of the events with Roe v. Wade and that ruling. I think they would have won a lot and they won the popular vote overall in the 22 midterms, Republicans. But it was a letdown, and that was with Biden winning in 2020. So, and that, it's a turnout problem. Trump's not on the ballot. It's all those narratives. Now maybe it's different. Trump is really going to try this summer to get people energized to vote. I know that. But I don't know if it's going to be enough. And then they get schooled on this gerrymandering shit when it looked like they were going to gain about 12, maybe 15, maybe 20 seats with the VRA getting shot down by the Supreme Court. Now it looks like that might not be happening, although there's still a chance, I heard. Thoughts on Asmongold saying to put ICE protesters in labor camps? Well, the protesters, you can't impede arrests. I mean, there's going to have to be something. The problem is, even if you arrest them, they're going to be let out. That's the issue. I mean, you have to federally charge these people or something. Thoughts on immigrants working for ICE? I don't have an opinion. I mean, if they need people to work for ICE. I mean, if the immigrants are legal and they've been in the country, I mean, look, it's whatever. I don't know. A chatter above asked a good question. How can the country ever recover if we keep switching every 2 to 4 years? Seems like an endless cycle of doom. Yeah, well, it's a check and balance system, and it works to a degree because it controls power, it consolidates power. No party gets too powerful, and that's the entire purpose of it. That's why people say, praise the founding fathers as geniuses and visionaries, because the way it works in terms of, right now it's like it's a tug of war thing. We're trying to get Trump as much power, consolidate as much power as possible, but that's the kind of the point of the way the United States government is structured, to not allow consolidated power for any party. And now, the 2 years thing is tough because the midterms. But I mean, there is a chance if they're able to win the midterms, Trump's going to have another 2 years to enact things. I mean, the other thing is it's just I don't know if people don't like or like, overall. Obviously, liberals are going to hate ICE, but I don't really know what independents think of what ICE is doing. I think they would. I mean, you have to interpret it as, listen, you have to physically remove these people. How else are you going to do it? Are you going to read their minds? Like when they're like, well, why do they go up and question legal? Like, how else do you do it? You have to question people on if they're legal or illegal. I mean, they're not going to have the paperwork on these people because they're illegal immigrants. So it's very hard. So hopefully independent people understand that when you physically remove people from the country, it doesn't just happen like a... I mean, I think they're going to try and tone down what they're doing, at least from a social media standpoint, but... Reset is certain if we become less than 20% of the population and Republicans don't win consecutive terms here in the next 20 years. Civil war looks imminent. We become less than 20% of the population. What do you mean by who becomes less than 20%? White people? That's not going to happen anytime soon. But I mean, less than 50%. But civil war, I don't know. You can't really predict a civil war. It's kind of impossible. Like, everybody can say that, that's just like a emotional reaction, I feel like, when people say it's a civil war. The GOP never does shit when they have all three branches. So because look at the GOP leadership. I mean, they're all still rhinos outside of Trump. It's not like there's MAGA candidates that are elected as senators and governors. It's just not happening, man. I mean, if all of the senators and governors had similar aggressive opinions as Trump, there would be probably a lot that gets done. And I'm not trying to just say that to glaze Trump. I'm just saying the Republican Party is still extremely rhino. They're still extremely establishment. And maybe there's a few, and maybe they've come a little bit to where Trump has moved it a little bit. But I mean, just look at a lot of the senators and governors. I mean, you're not going to really get a ton outside of just normal conservative and maybe aggressive immigration reform done. Where do these European countries get off on saying they don't need the United States military? You see, they say that. You see what Finland said at this economic forum? I would just leave NATO then and there. These countries, they try and call the U.S.'s bluff. It's like they're just punching us in the face constantly. Yeah, we're going to leave NATO, do a military agreement with Russia tomorrow, start funding them in their military exercise against Ukraine. I'm just joking, but I mean, like, seriously? What's your response to liberals saying my grandfather fought the Nazis in World War II? He would hate the state of the country today. Well, they're right, but those men would hate it because of the amount of diversity. So they're right in the wrong way. A lot of those men that fought would be considered, ironically enough, Nazis. Like, they would be because those men would in a modern context, a lot of the white men that fought for the United States in World War II in modern context would be considered very racist. Normally, the people that fight in military are typically very conservative. Thoughts on allying with Russia and splitting Europe? And yeah, it's not gonna happen, man. I think you said that yesterday. There's no splitting Europe in half. I mean, it's nonsensical. But I mean, I think at some point, I think Trump has got to be tired of Europe. It's just the condescending, the arrogance, that we're better than you. They try and push Trump because they think they can really do whatever they want, and the U.S. is not going to leave NATO or they're not going to do anything. And But just the constant, and the thing is to me, it's more so with Greenland. I think they really tried embarrassing Trump with Greenland, and I would be like, I'm just not putting up with this anymore. I mean, Greenland is within North American purview. It's not. This is not even like a European country. Like, it is absolutely not a ridiculous thing for Trump to say, I want to acquire Greenland and I'll give you money for it. That's not ridiculous. Them saying this is this fascist takeover is it's just pure gaslighting. Ally with Russia and Germany. Germany's a powerhouse. I mean, yeah, Germany is a powerhouse, man. It doesn't surprise me. Yeah, they've rebuilt their country post World War II. They're a powerhouse. They're you look at their military in Europe. I mean, why military vote Trump 2024 if he a draft dodger? Well, they just vote Republican in general. I mean, you don't vote based off of one certain thing. I mean, obviously, it's a Trump represents more of the values that a lot of the military people like because they're conservative. Trump should just support Greenland independence and make Greenland an independent vessel state of America with us having full access. I mean, I think that's what's going to be happening, is it not? I think if they do go with this, with whatever the deal is, this compact of free association, it requires them to be independent, and then, the U.S. has full access to their country, basically. COFA. It's Micronesia, it's the Marshall Islands, some of the atolls in the Pacific. It's Palau, I think. The GOP knows they can't get rid of every single illegal, and the people don't think that ICE agents are going to get every illegal. Yeah, I mean, they can't get every illegal. There's no way. Not even close. Not even close. They're trying to get as many as possible. It's not in a 4-year span. They're not going to get every illegal. And a lot of the illegals, some of the farmers want to keep anyways. I mean, but there's just so many. Do you think a second U.S. Civil War would be more likely in a communist revolution like in Russia in World War I, or Cultural Revolution in China during the 1960s? Democratic Party is moving towards democratic socialism. Yeah, but not by any meaningful way. I mean, it's hard to say, the far right versus the far left, but I think the far right is more organized and there's a greater presence than the far left. I don't really see. I see a bunch of 60-pound kids that more times than not tend to be non-binary that are normally communist. You just can't take that seriously. It's not. There's no real movement of that. I mean, I guess Mamdani, but even Mamdani, you look at him. I mean, NYC is like insanely liberal, and what did he win by 9 or 10 points? I don't know. I mean, that's a city too. It's not even like a state. Why aren't they crying much over Greenland? Yeah, the Dems are not. It's the EU. It's the European Dems that are the European liberals that are crying because it's not culture war for them. They like the culture war stuff. The left doesn't have a Nick Fuentes. Yeah, right. They've got no real organized leader there. What would it be, Hassan or something? I mean, it doesn't really work for them. What would it be, Hassan or Destiny? Like, there's no actual leader that has aspirations on the far left. But I wouldn't even classify Destiny as that. Maybe Hassan, because he does the whole, I like communism, but I'm forced to be socialist. Well, it's the Communist Manifesto. It's what Karl Marx said. They all understand. They say this is the actual way to carry out communism, what the United States currently is. The only way communism works is it has to be a vessel of capitalism, but the capitalism spawns in socialism, and then the socialism goes to communism. And it's a stateless society. But many of them don't even believe the Marx plan because the Marx plan is completely stateless, meaning the country doesn't exist. Doesn't make sense. It's not feasible. Would you rather have the U.S. go into isolationism? Well, we would never be fully isolationist. The country's too powerful and we trade with too many people to be fully isolationist. I mean, there's ways to be more isolationist and care about things domestically. That would be more like policy on getting the debt down, getting the deficit down. Have you seen a video of white liberals crying and bowing down to Somalians in Minneapolis? They were apologizing to them and begging for forgiveness. It's a joke. I mean, I've seen them do that with black people. I haven't seen the one with Somalians, but you know, I saw Omar Fati was like, there's no Walmart in Minneapolis, and it's like there's like 5 Walmarts around, but it's not technically within the city. The exact city zone. But I'm wondering why is there actually no Walmarts in Minneapolis? Is it because they had a looting issue? Because that's normally what happens. They move all the Walmarts out, and then it becomes food deserts, and then they get mad about that. Yeah, this dude donates a decent amount. I think I've seen your profile pic on X before, man. But Alex, I think I've seen your profile pic maybe a while ago though. Maybe it was someone else. Greenland is not U.S. Well, it's basically a puppet state now with this deal. Yeah, it is by default. I'm just gonna start saying, yeah. I mean, it's basically like a puppet state to the U.S. at this point. Apparently, we have full access of all the military components of Greenland, and they're not going to be able to do anything. They're not going to be able to do deals with Eastern countries now. So no, we do actually have full access of, and it's a U.S. puppet state. So what was your major in high school? I played the trombone. Now I never played an instrument. I never did any of that. I never did extracurriculars. I never did any of it. I remember when the Target got burned down in 2020. Yeah, there were some crazy clips from that. That's pure anarchy. That's pure third worldism. If you've seen the clips from that Target in 2020, that was insane. Do you need an accountant? An accountant. What I need is I need a financial advisor. Greenland is sort of like Puerto Rico 2.0. I mean, it's a different situation. Puerto Rico has way more of a population, so it would even, and Greenland, like the infrastructure is completely undeveloped. But no, it wouldn't really be like Puerto Rico because Puerto Rico is a territory. Greenland would technically not be a territory, at least not right now. Is he now targeting Alberta? Alberta would have to be done, independently of Trump. It would be supported by Trump and the administration, but it would be a separation movement that would be voted through a referendum. I think they're going to be voting on that possibly in the summer. And I want to do a video on that, so I studied up on what was going on there. They're having all these rallies, and they're raising all of the signatures, the 177,000 signatures, to have a referendum to try and secede from Canada. And I don't really, nobody knows if it would actually work. They don't really have a gauge. I mean, I think it's going to be pretty tough for them to have a positive referendum, but you just don't know. Fidelity. Yeah, but I need like a person though. We think the EU is full of useless woke hippies, but losing allies is not good either. Yeah, but the US isn't losing any allies. This is actually appeasement to the EU. They're not technically acquiring the territory. You're from Alberta. There's a lot of momentum. Yeah, I can understand that. I can respect there's a lot of momentum. I mean, I don't know the actual. There can be a lot of momentum, but it might only be 25% of the population. If that's the case, it's not going to be enough. You'd love to be a financial advisor. You just said you were an accountant, or you hinted at the fact that you were an accountant. Now you're a financial. You're just. What do you specialize in? Although Europe has better demographics than the U.S., their native birth rate is around 1 compared to the U.S. at 1.6, as well as we're. Yeah, but you wonder with the U.S. birth rate at 1.6, it's not all white people that are having those births. So I think with Europe, it's probably a worse situation. It's hard to say, but Europe, you could argue it's a worse situation because they're all individual countries and they all tend to be more liberal, so it's going to be harder for them. But also, I mean, they do have the better demographic advantage. Give tips on what to do after winning $1 billion in the lottery. I mean, the money should be invested. You should invest the money. The lottery is a joke. I mean, they take like 60% of your winnings. So if you win $1 billion, you get about 450 million, I would say. Maybe even less than that. You know, if you take a lump sum from the lottery, you probably only get 200 million out of $1 billion. You get like 20%. They take basically like 80%. I'm not even kidding. That's how it works. Still a lot of money. No, it is a lot of money, obviously. I don't know, man. Winning the lottery to me, it's like I don't really view that as a big accomplishment. I think I would rather just make money normally because winning the lottery, it's like, well, it's just a luck thing. I mean, anyone can do that. I would rather just try and make a name for myself. Would you take lump sum or installments? The installments are going to be more, but the lump sum you can invest immediately. So you'd have to talk to an advisor about that, depending on the strategy. Just take the lump sum and throw it all into Bitcoin. You'll probably get like a 3x off of it. Huh. The U.S. map would look ugly with Alberta. I think it'd be a territory. I don't think they would add Alberta as a state. If it's a territory, the map kind of stays the same in most aspects. You know, like in terms of like U.S. elections, because it wouldn't even be relevant. The U.S. whites are at 1.6%, 1.6 births, but it's skewed because conservatives whites are at 2, but liberal whites are at 1. Blacks and Hispanics are around 2, but they are the minority. Well, I mean, it's. I know, liberals are not reproducing really at all. It's for them, they try and replace it through immigration. People win the lottery, then blow it because they're not financially literate.
We go to a daycare, and I'm instantly surprised by what we see. We arrived, and it was an industrialized building, and there was 2 daycares registered at that daycare, at that building. And the first thing I noticed is all the windows are blacked out, and there's no footprints in the snow of any children. There's no playgrounds or anything that would make it look like it's a child care. But above me, a sign read, open 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. But there was nobody there. The doorbell did not even work. And then we continued to go to other daycares and we noticed the same pattern. No children, blacked out windows, and one daycare, a learning center, spelled Quality Learning Center instead of Quality Learning Center. They had received $1.9 million, yet with that $1.9 million, they could not even spell leering right on their sign.
How much snow are we going to get? It depends where you know, in the Ohio Valley, they're going to get hit pretty bad, I hear. I'm getting about 7, 8. I'm not going to say that because people think it's gay, but you're getting about like half a foot of snow, I'd say. For what I'm that's where we're getting. Do you mind going over the Greenland Deal? Well, the Greenland Deal is very likely a compact of free association where we take over all the military aspects of Greenland. Greenland technically becomes an independent country. I think that's probably what's going to happen. And we get full military rights. They're not going to be able to do any deals with any countries out the U.S. Okay, the U.S. is to okay any type of deals they do with other countries, and we have full access to all the waterways, and they're saying we're going to have land ownership of some kind, and it's going to be an interesting relationship, but it's not a full outright acquisition of the country. Now, I don't know what this is going to be in terms of the cost or something. I mean, it's going to have to be released. I don't know. Eight to 12 inches in northern West Virginia. Yeah, it's an interesting storm because it's going to be colder south. So, and think about think about how cold it's going to be in Ohio. It's going to be -5 degrees in Ohio on Saturday. Yeah, I don't have anything against Nick Shirley. I mean, people kind of criticize him. They say he's slow and stuff because of his speech, but I don't know. I mean, he just went to this. I mean, he really cracked the code on these Somalian frauds. You know, they were able to keep it secret. Even CNN was kind of admitting, well, there's all this fraud going on, but it wasn't until Shirley actually went, and that just blew it all up. Don Lemon, is he getting arrested? With Pam Bondi, it's not going to happen. It's not gonna happen. I don't know. You know, they say he was just observing. But what about these liberal women now? They say they're legal observers. Yeah, that's not when you impede, when you obstruct, that's not what that is. You can't obstruct ICE. You like Myron Gaines? Dude, you see Myron Gaines dance? Myron Gaines Jewish dance. Oh man. People are criticizing Myron Gaines. They say it's low IQ anti-Semitism. I don't know, man. I mean, he seems like a big influencer, you know, in the conservative. It's like all the big influencers in the conservative space are just, they're all very anti-Jewish. I mean, I guess that's where the younger people are going now. The younger people. That's why Israel is trying to stop they're saying the U.S. we don't want any more funding because our reputation is so bad. I don't know, man. I wouldn't trust Myron Gaines. I mean, he has some funny clips, I guess. You gonna miss the administration? Well, we'll see. I mean, it's only a year into it, but it'll be different though if they lose the midterms. That's for sure. But I don't even know how different. I mean, how much has really Congress even helped Trump? I don't know. I mean, I guess they've helped a little bit, but still, it seems like a lot of this is done through executive order. But the problem now is they'll have, if liberals have more power in Congress, they'll just scream the whole time, and it'll be annoying to hear. When are we going to see the full details on the Greenland deal? Probably tomorrow, or maybe within the week. What's it going to take for Pam Bondi to get fired? Dye her hair black, become a brunette. Did you see the lady in Texas running for local office saying she wants to get rid of Muslims? Yeah, I think I know that lady. She's a clown. I mean, look, I understand the immigration stuff, and you don't want to see, the worship centers, the mosques. Yeah, I know. I think I know who you're talking about. That's like an internet candidate. Dude, why do you keep asking if I'm related to Machine Gun Kelly? I mean, it's just obviously not. Yeah, it's Valentina Gomez, I think. Yeah, you're right. Can we trust Sneeko to be conservative? He's Muslim. Now, Sneeko is just really anti-Israel control, which I can respect, but I don't really think it's a different type of thing, because he's against a lot of U.S. military action in general because he thinks everything's related to Israel. It's like Dave Smith. I think him and Dave Smith probably have very similar politics on that type of stuff. Pam Bondi, smash or pass? I think Pam Bondi's overrated. Pam Bondi's 61. It's just not. Well, Valentina Gomez literally goes state to state. She's already tried to run for Congress in like fucking what was it, Missouri, and then another state. And I mean, this is the worst type of grift imaginable. So you're a career politician where you go from state to state and just lose elections every 2 years or every 4 years. This is an interesting. We should study this strategy. A political influencer. Yeah, they are called that. That they are called that. You're right. What do you think Trump is saying? Think about Trump saying they're going to start prosecuting people for 2020 election fraud at his WEF speech. Yeah, I don't really think they're going to do that, honestly, but maybe. I mean, maybe they might try and get a few people. I don't know, man. The 2020 stuff, it's just hard because it's like you only get so much time in office, and you really want to utilize it to do things right now. But yeah, I understand that. They talk about voter fraud. I mean, I saw voter fraud. It just ballot harvesting in states to where you can't do that. You can't get a bunch like 50 or 60 ballots and then stuff them into a drop box. You can't do that. It's not allowed. You can only do it with your family. So I saw you see the fraud on the videos. They say it didn't happen. I mean, it's on the videos. It's all mail-in voter fraud. It's rampant mail-in voter fraud. When you see women stuffing the drop boxes with 70 ballots, they're ballot harvesting. It's not legal. You can do it with your family. You can take your family ballots up. Yeah, I saw JD Vance announcement with his wife. Yeah, they said that JD Vance was getting a divorce or something. I mean, that's always something every other week. I mean, it's a joke. Why didn't they steal 2024? Well, it's very hard to steal because there was a lot less mail in. They couldn't really cover it. In 2024, think about it. 2020, That's right during the heart of COVID. Everyone's wearing masks. They're doing like 3-week extended early voting. There's all these stipulations. They were telling people you need to do early voting or you're going to die. You can't come to the polls. You can't interact with people. Think about that. They shut the country down in March, and then the election is 6 months later or 7 months later, whatever. And it's obviously a lot different in 2024. There was a lot more in-person voting. Iceberg video on the election fraud. I would have to really dig deep on that. But I would learn a fuck ton if I actually did a deep dive, because I don't even know that much about the election fraud stuff and how much of it is true and not. Because a lot of it's probably fake, but you'd have to cover it. But there's some probably good stuff in it. Why do you think the midterms are fucked? Well, it's just a challenge when you're the when you have a lower approval rating and you're the incumbent party in the midterms. It's a challenge. All right, man. I mean, you're gonna ask the question 500 times. I answered it. Like at a certain, you know. You'd make a large bet on Polymarket that if it's a boy, he'd name him Charlie or Charles. Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know. He might name him Vivek 2.0. His son's name is Vivek, JD Vance's. Biden, a literal zombie, somehow got 81 million votes. Well, the highest Trump got was 77 million. Kamala got 75 million. Well, yeah, it's not even about, I mean, you know, when there's video evidence of women shoveling, literally getting like their getting their workout in, they're like curling all of these ballots. They're curling all these ballots and then they throw them into the drop box. When they've got like 70 fucking ballots just like this, you can't do that. It's all these Democratic women who are doing it. Why don't you explain how that's legal? And then there's like, in some states it's illegal. It's like a ballot harvest from people you don't know. I don't know, man. There's a lot of stuff that was just like whatever happened in 2020. I mean, yeah, the 81 million votes. They say, well, it was because everyone wanted to vote against Trump because he's a bad. I don't even know what the reason was. I guess he's fascist or something, so they all voted against him. I mean, who knows at this point? Yeah, that was a Maduro election. That 2024 election, that 2020 election had Maduro. Maduro may have helped a little bit. Yeah, COVID was terrible. COVID was horrible in every aspect. It really was. People said they liked COVID. I don't know, man. COVID was brutal. Yeah, I know he named his son Nick. That's got to be a troll for Steve Kerr to do that. That's a troll, bro. Maybe he named his son Nicholas and he just, I don't know. It makes no sense that Biden got 10 million more votes than Obama, one of the most. Yeah, and Obama had the entire thing in 2008. Think about the first black president. They're coming off the terrible Bush years, the horrible Middle Eastern situation, the financial crisis, the first black president, young guy, already a politician, good talker, and Obama can't outdo Biden in votes, and Biden comes up there like a corpse. Like he's that lady, the chocolate lady from SpongeBob, and he does better. I don't really get it. Whatever happened to that Venezuelan politician that Trump propped up before COVID? I don't know who you're talking about, honestly. What? Not Machado? Because Michael Jordan sucker punched him in practice. Twitter muted Trump after 2020. His followers dwarfed Biden. Twitter, they kept putting things under it saying this is a false statement when Trump would tweet something out, and then they outright banned him after January 6th. You see Corey in the house vids in your future. I don't know what that is, man. Apparently, the people are theorizing the reason Trump captured Maduro is because he wants him to testify and admit to working with the Dems in 2020 election fraud. Imagine. Yeah, but they would just say, well, he's just saying that because he wants to get out of jail. That's what they would say. What do you think was the player that voted for Bronny in the All-Star game? I don't know. But I don't know what I was gonna say. I was gonna say something. Ice out. So they're not feeding dogs because the dogs are related to ice? Oh, these people got to be locked up. These people got to be... They need to be shipped to... They need to be shipped to a conservative state and then be locked up. Because you can't lock them up in these liberal states. They'll let them out in a day.
Everybody wants to be on it. But, yeah, I have some controversial people on it, but these are people that get the job done. These are people that have tremendous influence. And, if I put all babies on the board, there wouldn't be very much. So he was invited. He's accepted. Many people have accepted. I don't know of anybody that hasn't accepted. But it's going to be great. I think the Board of Peace will be the most prestigious board ever, and it's going to get a lot of work done that the United Nations should have done. And we'll work with the United Nations, but the Board of Peace is going to be special. We're going to have peace. It started off with Gaza, the Middle East. We've got peace in the Middle East, tremendous peace in the Middle East. Nobody thought that was possible. And that happened by taking out the Iran nuclear threat. Without that, it could have never happened. But the board is going to be, I think, really fantastic. And I think it'll be the most prestigious board of any board ever in world history. Thank you very much.
They're playing the piano for him.
Well, we have a concept of a deal. I think it's going to be a very good deal for the United States, also for them. And we're going to work together on something having to do with the Arctic as a whole, but also Greenland. And it has to do with the security, great security, strong security, and other things.
The market, 600 points, getting back a lot of some of the nervousness we had in the last couple of days. The tariffs are off. Nothing happens on February 1st.
No, we took that off because it looks like we have pretty much a concept of a deal.
A deal of ownership, a deal...
Well, it's a little bit complex, but we'll explain it down the line. But the Secretary General of NATO and I and some other people were talking, and it's the kind of a deal that I wanted to be able to make.
Where does Denmark... Did they weigh in on what they want, what they would agree to?
Well, I assume they did because he very much represents... He's a strong leader. Mark, you know Mark Rutte. And he... I assume he's been speaking to them. He's been speaking to all of them.
Are mineral rights involved? Is ownership involved? Did the Golden Dome sway people?
I don't want to say yet, but...
The Golden Dome was very compelling today when you talked about that.
Yeah, the Golden Dome, and they're going to be involved in the Golden Dome. And they're going to be involved in mineral rights, and so are we.
It's not specific enough to know at this point how long this lasts, whether it's...
Forever.
Forever.
It'll be forever.
For Greenland at this point.
Yeah. Forever.
That's staggering.
That's better than a 99-year.
This is what, 2 hours after.
It's better than the Obama deal with the famous Iran nuclear deal with a 9-year deal. No, this is forever. This is a long time.
This is a big time thing. This is a big time agreement. This is looks like full military rights to Greenland. Full military rights to the Arctic, full Arctic access, and then an engulfment of Greenland, and they're going to absorb Greenland, and the timeline is they'll be part of the United States within 10 years. It's going to be something like that if I had to guess. This guy's not winning anything. I'll tell you that.
I'm building this massive ballroom. I'm way under budget. It's going to cost less than $400 million. It's going to cost maybe $300 million for this massive project. I just built, relatively recently, I built a hotel, the Waldorf in Washington, and I spent like $250 million. It's a much bigger complex than the Federal Reserve and much more complex. So I said, how did they spend $3 to $4 billion on this little thing? I could have done it for $25 million, and it would have been nicer than what they're doing.
You really have to wonder, that's a ridiculous amount of money. There's NFL super stadiums that get built less than $4 billion. How many square feet is this? They call this the palace, that Powell is building. It's pretty insane. I mean, $4 billion, look, I understand the cost of building is extremely expensive in the area, but that's a crazy number. Huh. The Board of Peace, Vladimir Putin. Wow, this is a nice offer. This is nice. It's a nice offer from Putin.
The USA gets everything we wanted.
Oh, look at this dude.
Real national security and international.
That dude's straight out of Hogwarts.
Well, the deal is going to be put out pretty soon. I mean, we'll see. It's right now a little bit in progress, but pretty far along. It gets us everything we needed to get.
Will the U.S. still get Greenland? Will the U.S. still get Greenland, sir?
What did he say that convinced you?
Say it?
What did Mark Rutte say?
Well, he's a great leader. I think he's fantastic. The Secretary General was representing the other side, which is really us too, because, we're a very important member of NATO. I've done a lot for NATO. And it's really nice. I mean, it's a deal that everybody's very happy with.
That's a security guard.
Does it still include the United States having ownership of Greenland like you said you wanted?
It's a long-term deal. It's the ultimate long-term deal. I think it puts everybody in a really good position, especially as it pertains to security and minerals and other minerals.
Sir, how important is it for your legacy?
Have you already spoken to other European leaders? Have you already spoken to other European leaders?
Yes, I have.
How long will the deal be, Mr. President?
Infinite.
Did you speak to Denmark? Did you speak to Denmark?
The USA.
The Indian dude. Did you speak to Denmark?
Continue. We're going to expand our buses in the country. Yeah, very soon.
That's amazing.
Yes.
It's a remarkable success.
Yes.
Governor Newsom,
we
really
need a leader like you.
Isaac, it's fine, dude. I'm not. Governor Newsom, you remember, I'm friends with Charlie. I was friends, obviously, as you know.
Yeah,
I always appreciate your interview. Quick question: you mentioned Minneapolis. Any comment on this Don Lemon charging those guys into the church like that?
I literally. It's funny. Someone mentioned Don Lemon and Trump the other day, and so I have no idea what that's about.
Big viral story. He had a bunch of agitators. They ran into some kind of church. Don Lemon.
Into a church?
Yes. Even focus on this.
No, it's not even. This focus. Literally, don't know anything about it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
Great.
What is that, Jack Posobiec? I can't listen to this. It's just obnoxious.
Said you would remember if Denmark did not agree to a deal on Greenland. What did you mean? What are the consequences?
You'll have to figure that out for yourself. You're a smart guy.
You said you would.
What does it mean he's leaving NATO? I mean, I don't know.
This is not something that they are willing to discuss. So what will those negotiations
Well, they
look
didn't
like?
tell me that, so when they tell me, because I don't like getting it secondhand, if he wants to tell me, he'll tell me that to my face.
And when will you be discussing this?
I have no idea.
When you said you
I'll be discussing it with this man right here.
Mr. President,
He's frankly more important.
Mr. President, when you
This is not. Mr. President, the Danish foreign minister rejected your call to negotiate on Greenland. What will
I didn't call him.
No, sorry. The Danish foreign minister rejected what you said in your speech that you were hoping to negotiate. Mr. President, the Danish.
Trump was low energy but no nonsense. Baron Trump? I didn't see that. National championship. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, showing an adult star, I mean, that's strange, but it gets views, I guess.
A statement posted on X just moments ago, the governor's office writes, quote, under pressure from the White House and State Department, USA House, which is a church acting as the official U.S. pavilion, is now denying entry to Gavin Newsom to speak with media after Fortune invited him to speak, end quote. Now, remember, the governor was invited to speak at an event at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. President Trump went there and spoke earlier this morning. In an interview with CNN, Governor Newsom called Trump's speech, quote, remarkably insignificant. Now, here at KCRA 3, we are working to still gather more information about why the government.
The EU cannot make a deal on our behalf. Are you from Denmark? Is that what you mean by our behalf? I'd like to have, if you're from Denmark, I'd like to have a conversation with you, but they cannot make a deal on our behalf, and they haven't. Greenland cannot be sold without a common vote in Denmark because it's Danish territory. What do you mean by a common vote? Like, with citizens or just with the parliament? How do you feel about Trump wanting to rebuild the original World Trade Center? I mean, I don't think it would have been a good idea just because those buildings are out to date. I think they should have rebuilt the glass version of those buildings. Like, glass Twin Towers would have been cool. I would have liked to have seen them be rebuilt as glass structures. Like, the exact same dimensions, but a little bit taller in glass. You know, there's mocks of it. There's models. Bracketology. Yeah, that's right. Bracketology is starting up pretty soon. Yeah, I have heard there's been a pretty bad relationship historically between Greenland and Denmark, but they'll just say, well, Trump is driving Greenland back into Denmark's hands. I don't know. I think they really want independence from Denmark, but the feasibility of it is challenging because they can't support themselves. I don't think the Freedom Tower looks like ass. I mean, I think it's a nice skyscraper. Maybe it's not the most beautiful skyscraper, but you're not going to build another Freedom Tower, I'll say that. Barron Trump is being credited with saving a woman's life after she was being attacked by her ex-boyfriend in the UK. Well, this dude won't even. I wanted to see if I think he left. Maybe I wanted to see if he's actually Danish. I think it'd be a great conversation. But maybe he's just trolling. It requires a change of law, so it would likely need a common vote. However, it would never be held because 90% of Greenland wants to stay in Denmark. They were even protesting this Saturday. Yeah, but you have to you would think Denmark as a country. I mean, you understand that Denmark, your government, your country in general, loses money subsidizing Greenland. You get very little for Greenland. You're not mining on Greenland. You're not extracting any resources from Greenland. Ideally, I mean, Trump trying to acquire Greenland could be viewed as delusional. Like, why would you even want Greenland when you have all these military bases? So as the Danish people, why wouldn't you just say, why won't we just sell it for $700 billion before they become independent? I mean, you know that they've been having these independence, they've been trending more towards complete independence from Denmark. I feel like, honestly, the situation was hijacked by the EU. That's the way I see it. Like, the EU exuded and said it's actually us who get to decide. It's not even Denmark. If I was Denmark, I would be very interested in selling Greenland if somebody's willing to buy it, especially a NATO ally. That seems like a great idea because because you figure they're going to lose, you're going to lose it anyways. I understand kind of the argument of it being like a geopolitical leverage play, but I don't really get how Denmark, because the country's as small as it is with the GDP, how you guys can really leverage Greenland all that much, especially considering they're already trying to become independent anyways. It just feels like it would be a great idea for Denmark to be able to get money for it. That's the way I see it. Right. I think it's the way I see it is it's delusional hate of Trump. So they've just been, it's just been co-opted by the EU in general. Greenland has been a part of Denmark since before the US was a thing. Danes live in Greenland and Greenlanders live in Denmark. We can't just sell off. Yeah, but that's kind of bullshit. I mean, why did you guys give them basically full local autonomy in 2009 or 2008? If you're really that obsessed with keeping them, why wouldn't you just make sure because they're already trending to becoming independent. I don't really buy that you have this huge historical draw to, I mean, they're not even within, your side of the world really, geographically. It's not like it's a 1 hour trip. I mean, how long does it take via plane to go from Nuuk to Copenhagen? It probably takes a few hours at least. I don't really see it, man. I mean, if you guys were more intertwined with them, like if you actually owned them legitimately, not partially or whatever the ownership you currently have, I could understand it. But also it would be a monetary decision by Denmark to try and get something for them. To me, it just seems like that Trump hatred is basically said, we're not going to do it. I think it's been completely co-opted by the EU, though, because I don't really see Denmark actually making a decision. I see the EU saying it's not going to happen because we said so. And I just got 4 paragraphs. Holy hell. And I don't hate Trump, by the way. I love he's shaking up Europe a bit. I agree that we shouldn't have given them full autonomy. It's delusional to think 57,000 people can be sovereign over 1.4% of Earth. Well, I mean, that's the democracy. They voted for it, didn't they? I mean, I guess you could say it's not going to happen, but you could deny them. But then isn't that just the argument that Trump is using? Like, he doesn't really care about their opinions. He just wants the island. I don't know. But even from a Greenlander perspective, I mean, that seems kind of ridiculous. I mean, like, looking at this from far away, and I don't know what the offer was going to be, and we'll see. I mean, the fact that they turned out $100,000 per person seems a bit delusional. And I guess it was a payment plan, but that kind of seems like next level ridiculous. I mean, the U.S. already has a presence on Greenland. It's not like... It just seems like insane. And I think it's got to be just Trump hate. There's no way you can say it's a bad deal. I mean, even just geographically where it's located, for the life of me, it's just... This is so challenging to see these people be this bullheaded about it. I mean, the U.S. is going to have a footprint on Greenland whether they like it or not. This whole idea that Trump is fascist... They already have Greenland, basically. Like, if anything, you could just say Trump's delusional for outright trying to buy it because they already have access to it. Like, it's a waste of money. So, I don't really see... I think it's delusional from Greenland and... I mean, the EU, I guess, they want to keep it, but... Did you see the Nick Fuentes, Andrew Tate, Miami vid? Yeah, I saw that. The Hitler song. Yeah, the IRL stuff with Clavicular and Sneeko and Myron Gaines. What was it? Nick Fuentes, Sneeko, Andrew Tate, Myron Gaines, Justin Waller. Justin Waller. Dude, that dude's awkward, Justin Waller. Dude acts like a billionaire. But why would they sell it when they can keep it and have us invest money to get all the value? Is it lagging? Yeah, it should be good. I didn't lose connection. It crashed, and no, I don't think it crashed. Why can't we just focus on getting Alberta? Because it's Alberta is based on the will of their people. We're not going to take Alberta. You know, if their people want to leave, I think Trump should support it, but I'm not big into Canada and acquiring Canada, like the provinces. I just think, I mean, Alberta's obviously not liberal, but a lot of their provinces are liberal. So, if they want to become independent, that would probably be we'd probably have a closer relationship with them if they became independent. I mean, when you really think about the Greenland, Denmark thing, you know, it is surprising that they wouldn't accept a deal like that. That does surprise me. I mean, I guess if the EU controls it, then... Yeah, I mean, Canada has stuff to offer, but it's just not worth it. The problem is that we've never had actual talks with the U.S. We only know what we get from Truth Social, so it's just been panic. We're the oldest ally to the U.S. of 250 years. We lost lives in Afghanistan. Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, I mean, if you want to talk about the United States, you guys were occupied. I mean, the United States really saved Europe during World War II through Lend-Lease. And we saved Great Britain. You know, we were giving tons of money to Great Britain before we even entered the war. That's why there were all the There was all the naval battles with the German U-boats in the Atlantic in 1940 before we entered the war, because we were giving Europe and Great Britain and the USSR things. Listen, I can understand that you want to say, well, Denmark has sacrificed for the United States. We've done everything for Europe in keeping the Allies afloat during World War II. And a lot of it was the USSR and some of it was Great Britain, but I mean, there was a lot of sacrifice. You want to talk about U.S. investment into Europe during World War II. Also World War One. You're in the United States Navy. What are your thoughts on the possibilities of carriers like the one you're on getting deployed to the Middle East to try and intervene with Iran? Well, I wouldn't hope it would escalate to that. You know, I don't think Trump wants to do anything like that. I think it's just going to be maybe another strike, and hopefully that'll be it. I don't think Trump doesn't want any prolonged situation really anywhere foreign. There's not going to be any prolonged situation. I don't think there's going to be aircraft carriers unless it's just for a quick strike or something. Why are girls so liberal? College, feminism, pipeline. Yeah, I saw Paul Feinbaum had to apologize to Indiana football. Indiana football, what a story. What a story. U.S. sacrifices. Gene, thank you for that $100 donation. Dude, I was gonna, you know, I'm getting to the point to where it's like I'm gonna end the stream. You stay an extra 10 minutes, you get a $100 donation from a whale. Yeah, the EU. The EU is a joke. Trump had to twist arms to get him to defend Europe at 5% GDP. The EU really is just full of bluster and bluff. But thank you for that donation. That's a hell of a donation. All I'm saying is a lot of statements have been wrong in U.S. media. We don't just have dog sled up there. History with Greenland goes far. They don't all hate us, at least invite us. Yeah, I mean, obviously they like you guys more than they like the U.S., but they want to be independent themselves, and to me, it would be a great deal for everyone involved, really. What is your Raisin Cane's meal order? I don't eat Raisin Cane's, personally. I just eat Chick-fil-A. I just eat Chick-fil-A fries, mainly. Chick-fil-A fries and, you know, the chicken or whatever. Miami of Ohio basketball. They're overrated. Miami of Ohio basketball literally has to... They have like 3 overtime wins. No, let's not do... Imagine Miami of Ohio basketball as a 1 seed in the tournament. That's what people are saying. They're saying Miami of Ohio is going to be a 1 seed. Really? They would lose to a 16 seed. Miami of Ohio. They're 20-0. Seriously, they've got the easiest strength of schedule. I'm rooting for Miami of Ohio to go 33-0 in the regular season. If they go 33-0, they might be a 1 seed. They might have to be a 1 seed. They might have to be maybe a 2 seed. That would be good. I'm rooting for St. Louis. You know, St. Louis is really good at basketball this year. They're 18-1, I think. They got ranked. St. Louis. If they go like 29-1, I think they're probably going to be like a 3 seed if I had to guess. St. Louis. Miami of Ohio, they might be a 1 seed. That would be a sight to see. And then they'd be underdogs to like a 16 seed probably. Suicidal empathy is what's feeding Europe's. Well, I mean, it's all the entire West. It's not just Europe. That's what fosters the mass immigration is the suicidal empathy. Yeah, Nebraska. Nebraska's not even that good. They got lucky. They almost lost to Ohio State, Nebraska. Nebraska's going to lose a lot of games, I'm telling you, in February. Watch. Yeah, Michigan actually will get a 1 seed, unfortunately. Yeah, because Dusty May. Michigan, that's a good program, I'm not going to lie. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this live stream. I'm going to end it there. I will see you later. Greenland gets an NFL team. That may convince them. We gave them an NFL team. All right, guys, I will see you. U.S. takes Greenland, Russia takes Ukraine, China takes Taiwan. That's not a great trade for us, but, I mean, maybe that's what happens. Alright, guys, I'll see you.